Hello, good evening. Now we will discuss about the unit 13, transformation of Indian agriculture, strategy for development. From 1951 to 2002, agriculture sector in India has moved from a traditional agriculture in the 1950s to the modern, technologically dynamic, high capital intensive agriculture, which along with food and non-food crops, horticulture, and allied activities, have also expanded. In the context of Indian agriculture, three distinct phases of growth can be distinguished as follows. Traditional agriculture 1951 to 66, first soft period 1951 to 61, second soft period 1961 to 66. Phase 1, traditional agriculture. This is the technological stagnant phase, in which a large farm production becomes generally possible only through increased application of all three traditional inputs: land, labor, and capital. The, the rate of increase of output is normally smaller than the rate of increase in inputs, revealing diminishing productivity of inputs, even a low yield. In mid-1960s, the Indian agriculture was typically embodied in the characteristic of traditional agriculture. The primary feature of this period was that the production of agricultural crops consistently maintained an upward trend, except for small dips in 2 years. 1957-58 and 59-60. Independent India implemented various programs listed below as part of the effort to increase production and to ensure food security. Grow More Food Campaign, Intensive Agriculture Development Program, then a Community Development Program, National Extension Services, and Intensive Agriculture District Program. Neglect of the agriculture sector during the second plan, the short war was with China in 1962 and with Pakistan in 1966. The widespread drought in the East India culminated in a food crisis. In 1965-66, food grain production in the country fell from 83 million tons in 1960-61 to 72 million tons. This led to a serious crisis in the Indian economy, as the growth in food grains production was inadequate to meet the consumption needs of the growing population, and food imports became essential. Phase 2, Technologically Dynamic Agriculture with New Agriculture Strategy, 1966 to 2002. This is the beginning of the process of transformation from traditional agriculture to modern agriculture. The distinguishing feature of Phase 2 is the application of science and technology, evolved by research institutions at a progressive large scale. The new agriculture strategy was India's response to the grave and long-standing food crisis that accumulated in the 1960s. The silent features of the Green Revolution strategy are briefly listed below. Revolutionary biotechnology. Green Revolution as a package program. Then central rate of high-yielding varieties or miracle seeds. An important characteristic of modern varieties in their ability to utilize nutrients and water efficiently. Then spread of a green revolution limited to irrigated areas, compared to wheat revolution. Presently, 90% of the lands engaged in wheat cultivation have benefited from this new agricultural strategy. Most of the high-yielding variety seeds are related to the wheat crop, and a major portion of chemical fertilizers are also used in wheat cultivation. Then effect of green revolution production and yielding for major crops during the planning period. During the pre-green revolution phase, the contribution of area growth to output was 50.1%, while that of the yield growth was only 38.4%. During the green revolution or post-green revolution phase, yield growth became the dominant source of growth of output. Hello? 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 Green revolution generated employment opportunities in diverse activities, which were created as a result of multiple cropping and mechanization of farming. It helped to stimulate the non-farm economy that generated new employment in various services such as milling, marketing, warehousing. Another positive effect of green revolution in the flying back of increased profits in agriculture, increased production and productivity of food grains in post-green revolution period. Not only helped in maintaining the price stability in food grains, but also strengthen the forward and backward linkages with the industry. Hello, 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 hello,
Hello,
hello.
sir.
Are you audible?
Good evening, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello. Good evening. Negative socio-economic impacts of green revolution. The new agriculture strategy has resulted in increased productivity and returns for farmers. However, the revolution resulted into increased income with wide interpersonal regional inequality and equitably asset distribution. The NS was adopted by large farmers, resulting in interpersonal inequalities. Dash was confined to only irrigated areas, resulting in an increase in regional disparities. Restricted crop coverage. The new agriculture strategy involving use of high-yielding varieties seeds was initially limited to wheat and other major crop. Price responded much later. The progress of developing application of high-yielding variety seeds in other crops, especially commercial crops like oilseeds, jutes, has been very slow. In fact, in a certain period, a decline in the output of commercial crops is witnessed because of a diversion of area under commercial crop to food crop production. Then transformation of Indian agriculture strategy for development 2002 to 2014. The new strategy requires extending the first green revolution to the second green revolution in eastern part of the country or to evergreen revolution throughout the country to ensure the growth in agriculture is sustainable in the future. This called for giving more autonomy and a degree of freedom to states in formulating agriculture policies. Every state had some policy, that is agriculture policy. Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana has been initiated, given the fact by the India of the 1990 growth of both production and plateaued, rather declined. National Development Council resolved in oriented to meet the needs of the farmers and called upon the central and state governments to evolve a strategy to rejuvenate agriculture. In compliance of the NDC resolution, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare launched a new scheme named Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana in 2017, which has been sponsored by the government of India, the states in planning and executing programs for agriculture to ensure the preparation of agriculture plans for the district and states. Then to achieve the goal of reducing the yield gap in important crops, to maximize returns to the farmers, to address the agriculture and allied sectors in an integral manner. Second green revolution accelerated the yields of major crops such as paddy, wheat, millets, and oilseeds, particularly in the states of Punjab, Haryana, parts of Uttar Pradesh, and Rajasthan. Green revolution in India created a huge impact in terms of crop production, but it had several negative impacts like gradual loss of soil fertility, increasing alkalinity, salinity, waterlogging, depletion of groundwater resources, decreasing biodiversity, chemical poisoning of soils, surface water, and food. The first green revolution was launched to ensure food security, as there was a severe scarcity of food in the country. Then there is a need for a second green revolution, which could potentially address the negative impacts of the climate change through some kinds of farming like agroforestry or degraded lands. Then farming on wastelands, organic agriculture, green agriculture, eco agriculture, EM agriculture, then white agriculture, then one straw revolution, promotion of animal husbandry, efficient management of water resources. These are the new initiatives has been taken by the government of India. Then transformation of Indian agriculture through an umbrella program of doubling of farmers' income from 2015 to 2022. Past strategy of development of the agriculture sector in India focused primarily on raising agricultural output, improving food security. This strategy involved an increase in productivity through better technology and varieties and increase use of quality seeds, fertilizer, irrigation, and agrochemicals. Incentive structure in the form of remunerative prices for some crops and subsidies on farm products. Public investment in India and for agriculture and developing facilitating institutions. This strategy paid dividends as the country was able to address severe food shortage that emerged in 1960. Then Prime Minister's multi-dimensional 7-point strategy, which has been launched by the government of India. 7-point strategy, Prime Minister multi-dimensional 7-point strategy includes emphasis on irrigation along with the end-to-end solution on creation of resources for more crop per drop. Provision of quality seeds and nutrients according to the soil quality of each farm. Large investments in warehouses, cold chains to prevent post-harvest losses. Promotion of value addition through food processing. Implementation of a national agriculture market and e-platform, e-NAM, to eliminate the shortcomings of all the 585 centers. To mitigate the risk, introduction of crop insurance scheme at a lower cost to the farmers. These are the important factors to mitigate the risk. Production of crop insurance scheme at a lower cost to the farmers. Promotion of allied activities such as dairy, animal husbandry, poultry, beekeeping, horticulture, and fisheries. These are called integrated farming promotion. Prime Minister's multi-dimensional 7 points is very popular nowadays, which has been accepted in all over India, and which is a successful program of government of India. Policy initiatives for enhancing the farmers' output per hectare, improving cropping intensity. In consonance with the crucial source for raising the cropping intensity, two major flagship schemes launched immediately after announcement of India include almost 54% of the net sown area in the country is unpaid. Availability of irrigation facility will ensure access to some means of protective irrigation for all agriculture farms in the country. To this effect, Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana has been approved in July 2015 and formulated with the vision of extending the coverage of irrigation for Khet Ko Pani and improving water use efficiency, more crop per drop. Then Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, smaller and marginal farmers holding 86.3% with the 47.3% crop area dominates Indian agriculture. India's primary failure has been its inability to capitalize on technology and efficient agriculture practices, which can ensure surplus despite a small land holdings. Another reason for India's farmers needing insurance is that commercialization of agriculture requires an increase in credit needs, but most small and marginal farmers cannot avail credit from formal institutions due to the massive defaults caused by repeated crop failure. Besides, due to climate change, higher incidence of extreme weather events aggregates agrarian distress, and if this risk is mitigated, farmers will be motivated to make investment in agriculture. Then come to the policy initiatives for crop development and enhancing value realization. This is a good program sponsored by Government of India to enhance the farmers' income. One of the alternatives is that farmers may be motivated to diversify cropping pattern from cultivation of cereals such as wheat and rice to high value crops such as fruits and vegetables. Commercial crops, spices, seeds, that is agriculture, horticulture, livestock, fishery, beekeeping, and different with other allied activities they can do. Farmers can farmers' income will be enhanced. Then basic principles of operational green strategy. Principle 1, to establish the link between farmer and major organized retailers to begin with and thereafter allow them to access the retail markets. Principle 2, The existing agriculture produce market committee system of marketing does not allow APOs to sell their produce directly to the private traders. Then principle 3, reducing post-harvest losses. Do you know APO farmers producers organization, APO, farmers producers organization. Then reducing post-harvest losses in fruits and vegetables, which are approximately 40% in India. Agri-logistics can help generate a post-harvest specialized infrastructure needed for complete integration of cold chain facilities. Then principle 4, linking the processing industry with farmers and APOs. These were the principles. Agriculture markets, despite some changes, continue to face many challenges like licensing barriers, lack of integration of various markets, lack of marketing infrastructure, high incidence of marketing charges, high wastages in supply chain. Market dynamics continue to with the potential perspective. The best protection to farmers is in promoting long-term market linkages, such that markets are connected across place, time, and farm with farms. The necessary condition for transferring remunerative prices to the farmers is a competitive environment that facilitates fair and transparent price rate discovery. E-National Agriculture Market, INAM. The government introduced a central sector scheme for promotion of a NAM to bring about to National Agriculture Market, to bring about a transformation of agriculture market environment. Then policy initiative to ensure remunerative price to farmers for their products. MSP policy and procurement, you know the minimum support prices very well, about to the success of green revolution journey predicted upon inter alia market support in terms of a minimum support price. Procurement policies. Hello? Hello? Am I audible? Alok? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Minimum support prices acquire value only when they are supplemented by a robust mechanism of procurement. Whenever they are breached in the market on the negative side, it is open that the farmers would gain better from a more robust system of procurement rather than increasing MSCPs. Then the existing procurement mechanism by the government are implemented on the Food Corporation of India, price support scheme, and also market incentive scheme, then price stabilization fund. These schemes to protect consumers from rising prices, to support commodities for which MSP are not notified, fruits, vegetables, other horticulture crops. Then warehouses, you know, an efficient marketing system alone is not sufficient and cannot guarantee desired benefit to farmers unless it is supported by an efficient storage system for post-harvest crops. Warehousing allows farmers to balance their supply to markets and in the interim enables them to avail finance to meet their immediate financial requirements. Warehousing availability of a suitable type and quality thus makes it is an important component of the agricultural marketing system. Three main agencies in the public sector engaged in building large scale storage warehousing capacity. Food Corporation of India, you know, Central Warehousing Corporation and the State Warehousing Corporation. The government also supports the private sector and cooperating in creating warehousing capacity under the agricultural marketing infrastructure scheme. Then policy initiatives to improve resource efficiency. You understand the warehouse? Hello. Policy initiatives to improve resource efficiency, reduction in costs. The inputs and pesticides, farm machinery, credit and labor account for a major component of cost in the case of all selected crops. Seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, farm machinery, credit and labor. The effective management of these inputs and their efficient use would help in reducing the cost and in turn enhancing the productivity and income of the farmers. Soil health management, soil health card scheme. Diagnosis surveys in the diagnosis surveys are carried out in all the states for the soil testing, and enhancing nutrient efficiency will be the key for sustained agriculture production. lowering unit cost of cultivation and raising farm income in the years to come. Then for inputs, but timely availability of all fertilizers, then seed, then first you come to the seed. The inputs first, it is seed will come. Seed is a critical input for enhancing productivity of all agriculture and horticulture crops, and plays a vital role in improving the income status of farmers. Then, in order to improve the quality of the farm and save seeds, seed village program being implemented from the year 2005 to 6 onwards needs to be upgraded for better monitoring. Seed bank, that is called a seed bank, maybe we may say seed bank, seed village program. Pest management. In India, the farmers' crop yield losses range from 15 to 25% owing to the presence of weeds, pest disease, and other rodents. The government enacted a Insecticides Act 1968 to regulate import, manufacture, sale, transport, distribution, and use of pesticides so as to prevent risks to human beings, animals, and matters connected therewith. Pest management. Challenges such as quality of pesticides, optimal application of pesticides, popularizing integrated pest management techniques. Price of a generic pesticide and monopolistic practices still need to be addressed. Then pest management. Then next, agriculture mechanization. That is a farm mechanization. Agriculture mechanization speeds of tasks and helps in bring judicious use of inputs like seeds, fertilizer, water, contribute to farm productivity, as is therefore aid in enhancing farmers' income. Relevance of non-agriculture activities in doubling farmers' income. The agricultural structure of India has been experiencing reduction in farm size. There is a reduction in farm size, and increase in marginalization of holdings for the past several decades. Now it is also going on in the Odisha context. The agricultural land has been converting to homestead land, and in the name of infrastructure development like road and other industrial development, and also other like ports development. So many agricultural lands have been converted to other sectors like other areas like for the infrastructure development, housing, and housing also. NABARD survey shows that 35% income of agriculture households is from cultivation, 34% from wage labor, 16% from salaries, and 80% from livestock, and remaining 7% from non-farm sectors. Non-farm means construction, transportation, manufacturing. So NABARD surveys also provides that only 13% of agricultural households have one single source of income. Around 50% of these households have two sources, 29% of three sources, 9% of four sources. Then come to the despite these success, challenges remain. Among them, the notable being slow pace of structural transformation and low labor productivity, continuing fragmentation of operational holdings, inefficient agro-food supply chains and the retail sector, prevalence of informal channels of credit, and the climate change. This is the position of agriculture development scenario of India. Then come to the large-scale industries in India. Large-scale industries in India, large-scale in India face several challenges that impact their growth and sustainability. Some of the key issues include environmental impact. Large-scale industries are significant contributors to pollution and resource depletion, necessitating strict environmental controls and sustainable practices. High setup costs. The substantial capital required to establish a large-scale industries creates a barrier to entry, deterring small entrepreneurs and reinforcing market dominance by established players. In inflexibility, large-scale industries often struggle with the adaptability due to their size, making it challenging to respond to changing market demands or technological advancements. Risk of monopolies, the dominant position of the large-scale competition and innovation while limiting consumer choices. To address these challenges, the Indian government has implemented various policies include National Manufacturing Policy, aims to increase the share of manufacturing in GDP and create 100% million jobs by 2025. Make in India initiative to promote India as a manufacturing hub and attract foreign investment. Investment incentives offers tax breaks, subsidies, and other incentives to encourage investment in large-scale industries. Environmental regulations implements policies to reduce pollution and promote sustainable practices in large-scale industries. Some of the key large-scale industries in India include automotive industry, companies like Tata Motors, Mahindra and Mahindra and Maruti Suzuki. Steel industry, companies like Tata Steel, Jindal Steel and GSW Steel and Mittal Steel Industries. Textile industry, companies like Grasim Industries, Aditya Birla Fashion, Raymond. Large-scale industry refer to those that involve a large amount of capital investment and technology, operate on a large-scale production, and employ sizable workforce. Advantage of large-scale industry is economies of scale, mass production, job employment generation or job creation, technological advancement, market influence in industries, disadvantage of large-scale industries, environmental impact, high setup costs, inflexibility, risk of monopolies, depersonalization, the future of large-scale industries, sustainability practices, technological integration, globalization, and consumer preferences. Then come to the details of large-scale industries in India, issues and policies. Then first of all, we will discuss what is industrialization. Industrialization is a process by which the center of economic gravity of an economy shifts from agriculture to industry. Industrial involves two things: adoption of technological and superior techniques of production that helps in transfer basic raw materials and intermediate goods into manufactured goods. Application of modern techniques of management and organization like economic calculations, accountancy, and management techniques. Then come to the large versus small industries. For policy purposes, industrial units are generally classified as micro, small, and medium enterprises and large enterprises. For this categorization, indicators like capital investment, output capacity, labor employed are used. Units within the laid down maximum limits of these indicators are classified as a micro, small, and medium enterprises. Beyond these limits, all enterprises are treated as large enterprises. Then consumer versus capital goods. Production units that produce consumer goods are classified as consumer goods industries, whereas capital goods are produced in capital goods industries. Public versus private ownership. Production units set up and managed by government are classified as units with the public ownership. Private owned units are the ones owned and managed by private capital and enterprise. Case of for industrialization. The following factors favor rapid industrialization as a means to accelerate economic development. Labor productivity. The productivity in the industrial sector is generally higher due to one of more following reasons: existence of a greater capital intensity, continuity of production, greater specialization and division of labor, less dependence on natural factors, a greater possibility of internal external economy in the manufacturing sector. Then come to the job creation or employment generation. Industry activity expansion create more employment opportunities, thus attracting labor from less productive occupations. This process adds to the national output as also to the purchasing power and aggregated consumption expenditure, which in turn pulls the aggregate demand upwards and is instrumental in creating more employment opportunities. Mobilization of surplus. A major constraint on development in a developing economy is the lack of adequate resources to finance the process of capital accumulation. Inequity of resources is the result of two interrelated factors: the absolute size of resources, national output, and saving in a developing economy is low, and it is not possible to mobilize the surpluses. The task of mobilization of surplus savings in this sector is rendered difficult by the fact that there is no suitable institutional setup for this purpose. Such a setup can more easily be provided in the industrial sector of the economy. Then growth strategy in India. Evolution, evolution of strategy in Indian plans. It was during the first 5-year plans period itself that the planning commission has started doing homework detailing to the formulation. Then the basic feature of a strategy, implicit emphasis on industrialization within the industrial sector, emphasis on the growth of heavy capital goods and goods industries. Then come to the essential features of heavy industries. Three essential features of heavy industries are as follows. One, capital invested to set up and run such units involve a huge sums of money. Then two, the time lag between private enterprise from entering such industries. Three, these production units by nature are natural monopolies. These are subject to law of increasing returns to scale. Then given to the features, it is now no wonder that a strategy pertaining to heavy industrialization develops deep, deep goals also explicitly on the state, which is required to set up and operate production units. Then policy support to strategy. There are several aspects of industrial policy which affect industrial investment and production. Yeah. Then policy concentrating the control monopolies and economic concentration and the reservation of certain lines of production for the decentralized small scale sector, which in a way forms an integral part of industrial licensing policy. Policy regarding technological input closely allied to technology import policy. Policy regarding technology import closely allied to technological import policy is the policy regarding the import of capital goods, components, and raw materials. A whole range of financial Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Huh. Then industrial, then come to the legislative support to strategy. Industrial Development Act first, it was initiated in 1951. Then Monopoly of Restrictive Trade Practices Act 1969. Then come to the Foreign Exchange Regulation Act 1973. Other controls, the Company Act 2011, the Securities Contract Act 1956, Import and Export Control, Control Act 1992, Commodity Control Act 1955, Financial Credit Controls, the Location and Environmental Legislation. Then come to the phases of liberation. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Then phases of liberation. The process of liberation got a fill up with the announcement of the new industrial policy. Industrial policy in July 1991 and entered a new phase of what has been described as a reform by storm that supplants reform by stealth of the last half of the 1970s and reform with the reluctant during the second half of the 1980s. Then, as already stated earlier, that NIP, new industrial policy, has made a bonfire of the industrial licensing system by throwing out to various provisions. There has been also been some move away from extensive physical controls and an increase in the role of financial incentives in challenging investment in the desired areas. This plus the lowering of the tax rates combined with the better administration of the revenue collecting system helped in attracting investments and boosting economic activity which had stayed away from the mainstream. The role of the financial institutions for their intermediation functions became very important in the new regime. Foreign investment. Automatic approval is available to FDI in almost all sectors except a few sensitive ones. To provide access to international markets, majority of foreign equity holding out of 51% equity will be allowed for trading companies primarily engaged in export activities. Then Foreign Investment Promotion Board has been constituted to negotiate with a number of large international firms and approve direct foreign investment in selected areas. Then foreign technology agreements. Automatic permission is to be given for foreign technology agreements in identify high priority industries. In respect of industries other than those included above, automatic permission is to be given subject to the same guidelines as public sector investment is to be reviewed with a view to focus the public sector on strategic, high-tech, and essential infrastructure. Public enterprises which are chronically sick and which are unlikely to be turned around will for the formulation of revival rehabilitation schemes are to be referred to the Board of Industrial and Financial Reconstruction. In order to raise the resources and encourage wide public participation, a part of the government shareholdings in the public sector will be offered to mutual funds, financial institutions, general Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir. You must continue, sir.
Ludu? Ha ha. Ha
Yes,
ha.
sir. Yes, sir.
Then recent policy initiatives, there is some internet problem sometimes. Recent policy initiatives impacting industrial growth. In policy initiative, implementation of GST. You know, GST is a game-changing reform introduced by the government of India. It is expected that implementation of GST will facilitate the creation of one common market in the countries by removing tax barriers, eliminate a scanning of taxes, thereby reducing cost of production of manufacturing goods, and enhance ease of doing business by cutting down transaction costs associated with the complex tax regime. The implementation of GST is also going to cover the unorganized sector industries. But then, Make in India. The Make in India program has been launched globally on 25th September 2014, which aims at making India a global hub for manufacturing, research, and innovation, and integral part of the global supply chain. This initiative is based on 4 pillars of new process, new infrastructure, new sectors, new mindset. Make in India, it is a beautiful program, and also it is a successful program of Government of India. This initiative is based on 4 pillars of new process, new infrastructure, new sectors, new mindset. Startup India. Startup India is a flagship initiative of the Government of India Internet to build a strong ecosystem for nurturing innovation and startups in the country that will drive sustainable economic growth and generate a large-scale employment opportunities. The government, through this initiative, aims to empower startups to grow through innovation and design. Then, doing business. The government has taken up a series of measures to improve ease of doing business. The emphasis is simplification of rationalization of the existing rules and introduction of information technology to make a governance more efficient and effective. In Indian states too have been brought on board in the process to expand the coverage of the efforts. Then come to the critical issues before industrial sectors. Industrial sickness. Industrial sickness, the definition of sickness has undergone changes over the years. The latest definition of sick units is such that the related default of the loan amount is enough to categorize it as a sick unit. Technically speaking, the loan amount of the unit has to become a non-performing asset. Causes of sickness. The important major causes of sickness of industry are classified into 2 categories, that is external causes and internal causes. External causes means high cost of manufacture coupled with a low realization of sales volume. Then non-availability of raw materials regularly and smoothly or availability at high prices. A lack of regular supply of inputs such as power and transport bottlenecks. A general recessionary trend in the economy affecting the overall performance of industrial units. Fiscal imposts such as excise duties, import duties, these more generally undermine the profit margins. Internal causes also responsible for sickness, that is an improper demand estimation for the products to be sold, an improper choice of technology, unsuitability of produce mix or single product technology, wrong location of industry. Then non-flexible fixed assets, mainly machinery, for possible use in the diversified manufacturing setup. A defective capital structure, especially on account of delayed constructions and operations. A growing shortage of working capital. Then managerial inefficiency, poor control, and absence of control on such areas of operation as finance, inventory, and marketing. These are the internal causes of sickness. Then technological obsolescence and modernization. Another related problem in India industry is faced with that of a technological obsolescence, a large segment of industry. As a result, input intensity has increased, productivity low, costs high, and quality poor. It may cover replacement of an obsolete machinery by a new machinery. basic test of modernization is that it should lead to a substantial reduction in the unit cost of production. That is means replacement of old machinery and adoption of new machinery. Then causes of slow pace of modernization, like the major causes, basic causes has been complexity of finance, resulting in the following major handicaps: licensing policy, price controls, depreciation provisions, high rate of corporate taxation. The combined effect of the above factors has been erosion of funds available for replacement of modernization. Suggested measures: the major investment allowance and excise rate on production could be granted for future needs. Following steps can be suggested. Units may be allowed to set aside a percentage of profits and depreciation towards modernization reserves. In computing the cost of production for fixing prices, modernization requirement must be taken into account. For purpose of taxation, units may be allowed to carry back losses against profits of the previous 3 years. The import policy for capital goods may be modified. Then developments in technology are taking place across the globe. Government and industry must work together to complete the program within the shortest possible time. The government of India is giving so many facilities for industrial major industrial development. Then approach to a new industrial policy. Clear vision and strategic objective and intent, establishing global linkages, then enhancing industrial competitiveness, then also employing gainful and a growing workforce, then ensuring sustainability and a responsible industrialization, enabling this ecosystem of technology adoption and innovation. Lastly, industrialization is a process by which an economy moves from primarily agrarian production to mass-produced and technological advanced goods and services. Then, this calls for adopting a comprehensive, actionable, outcome-oriented industrial policy which will enable industry to deliver a larger role in the economy to fulfill its role as the engine of growth and to shoulder the responsibility of adding more value and jobs. Then come to the Unit 15, micro, small and medium enterprise. It is a very interesting topic. That is the micro MSME. MSE, you know that a micro, small and medium enterprises plays a vital role in India's economic development, providing employment opportunities and contributing to the country's exports. However, MSMEs face numerous challenges that hinder their growth and sustainability. The major issues are inadequate access to finance, infrastructure deficiencies, and limited market linkages, regulatory complexities, skill shortages, technological obsolescence. Then come to the policies and interventions. Micro, small and medium enterprise development Act 2006 provide a framework for the development and promotion of MSME. Udyam registration, Udyam Aadhaar registration, MSME Samadhan, a platform for resolving delayed payment to MSMEs. Credit Guarantee Fund Trust for micro and small enterprises. Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program, PMAGP. These are the programs which are initiatives by the Government of India and MSME. Let us come to discuss the detail. MSME or micro, small and medium enterprise sector has emerged as a significant sector of the Indian economy, contributed remarkably to employment generation, entrepreneurship, innovation, exports and exclusive growth of the economy. Likewise, the sector has been regarded as the engine of growth worldwide in both the developing as well as the developed countries. MSME are the backbone of many economies, representing 95% of all companies worldwide and accounting 60% of employment. Then it is a good program, and also the Government of India supporting from time to time for promotion of MSME. MSME is normally used to describe small industrial or business units in private sector. You know, then there is some act. It is an enterprise engaged in the manufacture of production of goods pertaining to any industries specified in the first schedule to the industries, which there is a Development and Regulation Act MSME 1951, a micro enterprise where the investment in plant and machinery does not exceed 20 to 25 lakhs rupees. A small enterprise, a medium enterprise where the investment in plant machinery is more than 5 crore rupees but does not exceed 10 crore rupees. Similarly, a micro enterprise where the investment in equipment does not exceed 10 lakh rupees. A small enterprise where the investment in equipment is more than 10 lakh rupees but does not exceed 2 crore rupees. A medium enterprise where the investment is equipment is more than 2 crore rupees but does not exceed 5 crore rupees. The definition based on investment in plant machinery equipment is often criticized for not reflecting the current increase in price index of plant and machinery equipment. Significance of micro and small and medium enterprises in the Indian economy. This sector in the country occupies the second position next only to agriculture in terms of employment generation. This of course occupied the second position. The sector consistently feeds the domestic and the international value chains as manufacturer, suppliers, distributor, retailers, contractors, and service providers by accounting for a substantial segment of the economy, industrial and service units. Then employment sector, employment in the MSME sector. MSME sector has the potential to emerge as the backbone of Indian economy and to continue as an engine of growth, providing policy environment that address issues in the areas like entrepreneurial skill development, financial resources, human resources, technology and innovations, international market and linkages and bilateral trade agreement and infrastructure support. It is also not only to MSC generate the highest employment per capita investment, they also go a long way in checking rural-urban migration by providing people living in isolated areas with a sustainable source of employment. Apart from this, MSMEs also help in industrialization of rural and backward areas, thereby reducing regional imbalances, assuring more equitable distribution of national income and wealth. It is a very good program. And also there is a book which I have to go through from time to time. There is some change in MSME. There was a committee. Resolution, various committee appointed by the Indian government have followed the basic reasoning of the Industrial Policy Resolution of 1956. The most influential of these was, and a 5-year plan. The most influential of these was 1973 committee under the chairmanship H.S. Bhatt to formulate specific recommendations to accelerate the growth of small and medium-sized entrepreneurs. The committee recommended expanded the government action in support of small enterprises in the following areas: development of infrastructure for small-scale enterprises on a priority basis, promotion of regional industrial development centers, implementation of effective measures to ensure the supply of raw materials, implementation of small enterprise promotion measures at the state level, reinforcement of the tax concessions available to new entrepreneurs. So many facilities the government of India is giving to MSMEs. Then issues and problems. Despite your pivotal role in strategic importance in the context of industrial development and economic growth of the country, the MSME sector experiences several constraints and challenges. The Committee on Financial Architecture of MSME sector, in their report submitted in the February 2015, has identified some key issues. They include equity as a source of finance is underutilized, and the prevalence of investment by venture capital and angel investors is low, and MSMEs face the problem for delayed payments from their buyers, which adversely impacts their working capital as well as their next cycle of production. MSMEs lack adequate information about various schemes and benefits available by the government. Financial institutions, banks face challenges in credit risk assessment of MSMEs. The utilization of the available credit guarantee and insurance schemes by banks has been low. In general sector, the sector is inflicted by some of the major challenges. It is lack of adequate credit and capital. Then poor inadequate infrastructure facilities, inadequate access and marketing linkages, lack of skill human resources, lack of access to new technology. Then dilatory and concur some regulatory practices. The impact of GST and MSC sector. You know, as per the RBI report 2017, the contractual labor in both the wearing apparel and gems and jewelry sector reportedly suffered as payments from employers became constant after demonetization. Similarly, the introduction of GST led to increase in compliance costs and other operating costs for MSMEs, as most of them were brought into the tax net. The structural reforms might have disrupted the performance of MSG in the short run. Nevertheless, a demonetization and a GST are expected to be positive in the long run, with the growth in digitization enhance the case of doing business and creation of a database in transactions, which would facilitate better access to finance and improve the medium and long-term growth prospects of the sector. The GST, then policy initiative by the government, legislation and institutional support system, then which the MSME Act, the following key provisions: establishment of National Board for Micro and MSMEs by the Ministry of MSEs. It provides the legal framework for recognition of the concept of enterprise, which comprises both manufacturing and service entities. It empowers the central government to undertake programs and issue guidelines and instructions to develop and enhance the competitiveness of MSMEs. On 19th May 2007, the erstwhile Ministry of Small MSME, the Ministry of Agro and Rural Industries were merged to form the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. This ministry is responsible for designing, policing, promoting, facilitating schemes, monitoring their implementation with a view to assist MSMEs and helping them on scale up. The primary responsibility of promotion of and development of MSEs is for the state government. Some of the major policy initiatives initiatives introduced by the Government of India for support and promotion of micro and small enterprise in the country include establishment of SIDBI, Small Industry Development Bank of India, 1990. Then PMAGP, Prime Minister Implemented Generation Program in 2018 to generate employment opportunity in rural and urban areas through a new self-employment ventures projects, micro enterprises. Then formalities of MSMEs. Some of the direct incentives provided to the government are collateral-free loans from bank, ease of getting license, approvals and registrations, reservation policies to manufacturing and production sector, special consideration of international trade fair, octroi benefits, waiver of stamp duty and registration fees, exemption under direct tax laws, barcode registration subsidy, subsidy on National Small Industries Corporation Limited performance and credit ratings, eligibility of industrial subsidy, counter guarantee from Government of India through guaranteed by credit and fund trust and small industries, protection against a delay in payment, reduction in the rate of interest from banks, 15% credit links capital subsidy scheme, waiver in security deposit in government. Then concession in electricity bill, reimbursement of international organization for standardization certification, excise exemption scheme, preference in procuring from government. Then these are the formalities of MSEs. Then lastly, to which the prevalent issue in the sector, it is essential that all exclusive approach is adopted with the special focus on appropriate policy, institutional interventions, accelerating incubation and enabling formalization, addressing infrastructural bottlenecks, facilitating capacity building, enabling access to risk capital, credit, and technology interventions for improving underwriting standards and delivery, supporting market linkage, and tie up with the public procurement platforms. This was the MSc related to the micro, small, and medium enterprises issues and policies. Then come to the unit 16, service sector, organizing sector issues and policy. Service sector, is
Hello. Online. Hello. Hello.
Hello, hello. Am I audible? Hello,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ludo. Hello, audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There is a network problem. The money there is. The, now we'll discuss Unit 16. That is the service sector. Service sector, first the first economic sector is the primary sector, covering farming, mining, and agriculture business activity in the economy. The secondary sector covers manufacturing and business activities that facilitate the production of tangible goods from the raw materials produced by the primary sector. Then third one is the service sector. Though classified as the third economic sector, is responsible for the largest proportion of the global economic business activity. The sector currently accounts for more than half of the Indian GDP. However, though the growth of service sector in India is in line with the global trends, there are unique characteristics of India's service sector growth. First, the indirect decline in the share of agriculture sector in GDP has been picked up by the service sector, while the manufacturing sector share has remained more or less the same. Second, in spite of growing share in the GDP, there has been a serious mismatch between the share of the services in GDP and the corresponding share of services in total employment. Further, it is found that a growth pattern in the service sector has not been uniform across all services in India. Then, the service included in the service sector in the National Industrial Classification 2008, services included wholesale and retail trade, repair of motor vehicles and motorcycles, transportation and storage, accommodation and food service activities, information and communication, financial and insurance activities, real estate activities, professional, scientific and technical activities, administrative and support service, public administration, defense, compulsory social security, education, human health and social work activities. Then arts, entertainment and education. Then activities of household as employer on differentiated goods and services, producing activities of household for own house. Then jurisdiction in the service sector, union list, telecommunication, postal, broadcasting, financial services, including insurance and banking, national highways and mining services. State list, healthcare, related services, real estate services, retail services, incidental to agriculture, hunting and forest. Concurrent list, professional services, education, printing and publicity and electricity. Then come to the service sector measurement issues. This is a large sector, then which factors behind the service sector growth. The literature on growth in service sector primarily argues that when an economic grows, both the demand side and supply side factors operate. They lead to higher growth in the service sector as compared to the other sectors. This also results in a large share of service sector in total employment. Then come to the organized service sectors, cross-cutting policy initiatives and issues. Various policy initiatives have been taken by the government to promote the service sector. In the foreign trade policy 2015 to 2020 to provide an impetus to the services trade. Then the validity period of the duty credit slips was increased from 18 months to 24 months to enhance their utility in the GST framework. New logistics division created in the Commerce Department to develop and coordinate implementation of an action plan for the integrated development of the logistics sector. New services division is being set up to Directorate General of Foreign Trade, then to examine policies and procedures from the point of view of services. Then impact of demonetization of service sector in India. The demonetization for both challenges and opportunity in the digitalization of the Indian economy. There was a positive impact on services due to greater digitization with measures like launch of Unified Payments Interface (UPI), Bharat Interface of Money app, and Bhim Aadhaar Pay. It has been empirically justified in many studies. R. Sharan Madevia and A. Senthil Kumar, 2019. There's the impact of a demonetization based on adaptability, implementation, readiness, and asset of new payment methods and digital cash by the services providers and customers has been significant. It is a new program which Government of India initiated. That is Bhim app, Bhim Aadhaar Pay, goods and services tax, impact on services. You have already read this, already learned about the GST in detail in Unit 11. Then positive effect of GST on service sector, no double taxation. Then seamless flow of input tax credit, access to inputs held in stock. Then more clarity for software industry, fewer costs to service providers. Then negative impacts of GST on service sector, lack of a centralized registration, more burden of compliances, services becoming costlier. Then challenges and prospects of Indian tourism. For creation of a tourism sector, central financial assistance states union territories on the scheme of Swadesh Darshan, national mission on pilgrimage, rejuvenation and spirituality heritage augmentation drive. Prasad, besides some initiatives taken by Ministry of Tourism include the following: extension of e-visa facility to citizens of 167 countries, launch of the Incredible India, revamping of Incredible India, launch of multilinguistic tourist helpline, organization of annual global tourism mart for India, organization of annual international tourism mart for promotion of tourism in northeastern states, promotional activities in tourist generating markets overseas through the Indian tourism offices. Ministry launched a mobile application called Switch of Parjatan, which will let citizens report any hygienic issues at various tourist destinations across the country. The Archaeological Survey of India has identified 100 monuments to be developed as a model monument under Adarsh Smaraka scheme. This is the tourism sector. It is a newly initiated Government of India, which is agriculture side, and also then heritage site development. Then this is a very beautiful program for the beautiful newly sponsored by the Government of India program. Shipping and port services initiatives and challenges. In order, the Ministry of Shipping has initiated the following measures: from manual to e-forms, implementation of a direct port delivery scheme, reduction in fee and charges for non-peak period hours, continuous scanner scheme for gate automation, integration of major ports filling system with the customs software, remove congestion at ports. This is the measures. It is a good program for the shipping and port services sector. Initiation. The challenges facing in developing a world-class port infrastructure includes issues with the PPP mode, public-private partnership model. Most of the models impose strict limits on what private operators are allowed to do. Usually, in terms of the types of cargo they are allowed to handle, limited hinterland leakages, suboptimal transport model mix, lack of requisite infrastructure for evacuation from major and non-major ports led to suboptimal transport model mix. Then real estate is another rising sector. The real estate sector in India is growing at a faster rate of about 20% per annum, and this sector has been contributing to about 6 to 7% of India's GDP, but it is not to be balance the supply demand. So there is such policy and regulation challenges that plague the real estate sector in India. delayed infrastructure projects, funding problems for land acquisition. It is related to real estate sector in India. Land availability, outdated building bylaws, rising non-performing assets, tax shifts and demand shifts, GST issues. It is a rising real estate sector in India is a rising sector, but there is some lacking that most of the real estates are covering agricultural lands. Policy initiative challenges faced by banking and financial services. Initiatives to improve the conditions of government banks, financial services, Government of India has been taken comprehensive steps to strengthen the public sector banks. Under a government 4R strategy for recognition, NPA, transparency, resolving and recovering value from stress accounts through clean and effective laws and process, recapitalizing banks and reforming banks through the PSB reforms. Agenda on the steps taken the Government of India improve the condition of banks include inter alia the following. Change in credit culture with the institution of insolvency and bankruptcy, fugitive economic offenders Act 2018. National Financial Reporting Authority has been established as an independent regulator for enforcing auditing standards and ensuring audit quality. Care reforms instituted by PSBs include the following: to ensure proper due diligence in project financing, board approved loan policies of PSBs now mandate trying to have necessary clearance, approvals and leakages before disbursement, scrutiny of group balance sheet, and a ring fencing of cash flows, amperage of non-fund and a tail risk. For mitigating risk on account of misrepresentation and fraud, use of third-party data, sources of comprehensive due diligence across data sources has been issued. For clean and effective monitoring roles have been strictly segregated from sanctioning roles in high-value loans, and a specialized monitoring agencies combining financial and domain knowledge have been deployed. To ensure timely and better realization in one-time settlement, to faster processing of loan approval proposals, to strengthen government autonomy board, the opposition chairman and managerial director has been bifurcated into separate positions of a non-executive chairman and managing director and chief executive officer. A professional bank board bureau has been created for arm's length and selection of non-tax, non-executive chairman and whole-time in directors. Then the service sector accounts for more than half India's GDP. The analysis of the service sector in general selected sectors. In particular, indicators not only the potential of the service sector, but also the major issues and problems areas. While the only few services are analyzed, there are many other services. Telecom is one area where India has already made a mark. Some other services are super specialty healthcare, satellite mapping, professional services, where prospects are bright and India has the necessary competence to provide them. Many of the issues highlighted in various sectors, if addressed, can help in further growth of the service sector. This can make the services sector, which is already the dominant growth contributor, to become a high growth propeller along with the foreign exchange and employment provider for India. Then come to the service sector to infra sector issues and policies. Then come to the summary. The informal sector in India's service industry faces numerous challenges. The key issues are lack of social security, exploitation of low wages, limited legal protection, income and wage disparity. To address these challenges, the government has implemented various policies and initiatives. Unorganized workers, Social Security Act 2008, Pradhan Mantri Rozgar Protsahana Yojana, Atmanirbhar Bharat Rozgar Yojana, E-Shram portal. All these are beautiful programs initiated by the Government of India. Whereas in practice, there is some lacking, I think so. Considering the significant role played by the informal sector, the present unity, while focusing on the informal service sector is designed to respond to the following questions: how the informal sector is identified in India, and what constitutes the informal sector services? What explains growth in India's informal service sector? What are the issues being faced by the informal service sector in India? What policy initiatives are taken so far to address the concerns of the informal sector in general and informal services sector in any particular? You know, the term informal sector refers to all economic activities by workers and economic units that are in law or in practice, not covered or insufficiently covered by formal arrangements. According to National Commission for Enterprises, in the unorganized sector, unorganized or informal sector consists of all unincorporated private enterprises owned by individuals, households engaged in the sale and production of goods and services operated on a proprietary or partnership basis and with less than 10 total workers. Then it is a good program. As per the International Labour Organization, the informal sector consists of units that are unincorporated, not constituted as separate legal entities of their owners, produce goods or services for sale or barter, and satisfy a number of criteria. For example, they are unregistered, small have unregistered employees, and they don't maintain a complete set of accounts. Here, enterprises units include not only those that employ hired labor, but also self-employed persons, such as street vendors, taxi drivers, home-based workers. A wider concept of informal sector includes informal employment, which as per the government consists of those working in the unorganized sector or household, excluding regular workers, with social security benefits provided by the employers, and the workers in the formal sector without any employment and social security benefits provided by the employers. Characteristics of an informal service sector. Informal enterprises are often characterized by use of the use of local resources, family ownership, small-scale, labor-intensive adapted technology, informally acquired skills, relatively unregulated competitive markets. The informal sector is mainly located outside governmental regulation, although this may not be always true. Some firms don't accordance with the government regulations. Hello. The characteristics of an informal sector. Informal enterprises are often characterized by Hello, hello.
हाँ सर कौन सर
Huh. Factors, there is a network problem. Factors behind growth of the informal sector, growth strategy, growth strategy. Then reservation for manufacturing by small and scale units, central and state government labor laws, quality of labor supply. Then came to the legal and regulatory framework. Then service sector issues and challenges. Informal enterprise particular for working with small profit margins and a business model which are vulnerable to subtle change. They face many challenges that threaten their survival in a highly competitive and aggressive market. They also lack awareness of the benefits derived from formalization and organization. The key issues and challenges being faced by the informal enterprise, especially in the service sector in India, are costs associated with the formal enterprise. Then risk associated with being an informal enterprise. Challenges for their growth and scalability. Impact of demonetization on the informal sector. Then impact of GST on the informal sector. Impact of coronavirus lockdown on the informal sector. Then there is some policy implications, role and responsibility of the government. Then access to credit, tax reforms, social security contributors, inspection and compliances, awareness and promotional campaigns. There is a need for awareness. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello.
सर कौन सर? हेलो हेलो
Hello.
सर कौन सर?
Hello, hello, hello,
କୁହନ୍ତୁ ସାର୍ କୁହନ୍ତୁ ସାର୍
Jitendra.
ସାର୍ କୁହନ୍ତୁ।
Hello. Ha. Now there is a network problem. Now we'll discuss Unit 80 trade policy. First, I would like to say discuss about the summary of this trade policy. India's trade policy is shaped by its foreign trade policy (FTP), which aims to promote exports, facilitate the ease of doing business, and enhance economic growth. The FTP 2023, effective from April 1st, 2023, introduces several new initiatives, including incentives to remission, export promotion through collaboration, ease of doing business, emerging areas. Let us come to discuss about the details related to the international trade policy. In international trade policy, its features in pre-economic reforms and post-economic reform period. We shall highlight the trade related to important issues like trade and services, trade and intellectual property rights, and agriculture and regional trade agreements. The features of the trade policy 2015 to 2020 and its evaluation will also be discussed. To begin with, let us discuss the concept of international trade policy. International trade policies from a country's point of view are those policies which the government adopts towards international trade. These are the policies that involve a number of actions like taxes on international transactions of goods and services, subsidies for other transactions, legal limits on the value and volume of imports and exports, and many other measures. Trade policy involves a number of instruments described in the section that follow. Additionally, there are various international organizations, ensuring smooth trade flows between the nations. World Trade Organization is a major international organization that deals with the rules of trade between nations. World Trade Organization operates a global system of trade rules, acts as a forum for negotiating trade agreements, settles trade disputes between its members, and supports the trade-related needs of developing countries. Thus, the goal is to ensure that trade flows are smooth, predictable, and free as possible. Tariffs, instrument of a trade policy. Tariffs are among the oldest forms of trade policy instruments and have traditionally been used as a source of government income. Tariffs can be classified as specific tariffs like taxes that are levied as a fixed charge for each unit of goods imported, add a valorem tariffs, taxes that are levied as a fraction of the value of the imported goods. A compound duty is a combination of an ad valorem and a specific tariffs. In analyzing trade policy in practice, it is important to know how much protection a trade policy actually provides. Protection can be categorized as a nominal rate for effective rate of protection. The nominal rate of protection on any good is the proportional difference between its domestic and international price arising from the trade policies in question. These policies can include import tariffs, export taxes, and quantity restriction. Then effective rate of protection is a commonly used measure of net effect of trade policies. Trade policies on the incentive facing domestic procedures. Then export subsidies. It is a payment by the government to a firm or individual that ships a good abroad. When the government offers an export subsidy, shippers will export the good up to the point where the domestic price exceeds the foreign price by the amount of the subsidy. It can be either specific or add a valorem. An export subsidy raises prices in the exporting country while it lowers them in the importing country. Then import quotas. An important quota is a direct restriction on the quantity of a good that is imported. The restriction is usually imposed by issuing license to some group of individuals or firms. The right to sell in India is given directly to the government of exporting countries. License holders are able to buy imports and resell them at a higher price in the domestic market. The profit is received by the holders of import license are known as quota trends. Then come to the voluntary export restraints. A voluntary export restraint is an export quota administered by the exporting authority. It is also known as the voluntary restraint agreement. VRs are imposed at the request of the importer and are agreed to by the exporter to forestall of other trade restrictions. Then come to the local content requirements. A local content requirement is a regulation that requires that some specified fraction of a final good be produced domestically. This fraction can be specified in physical units or in value terms. Local content laws have been widely used by developing countries, trying to shift their manufacturing base from assembly back into the intermediate goods. Local content laws don't produce either government revenue or quota rents. Instead, the difference between the prices of imports and domestic goods gets averaged in the final price and passed on to consumers. Farms are allowed to satisfy their local content requirement by exporting instead of using parts domestically. Other restrictions are like export credit subsidies, then national procurement can be directed towards domestic goods even if they are more expensive than imports. Then red tape barriers, which is barriers put by the governments based on health, safety and custom procedures. International trade agreement, a brief history. Post-World War II, in order to take the full advantage of bilateral and multilateral coordination, a group of 23 countries began trade negotiations under a provisional set of rules that became to be known as the General Agreement on Tariff and Trade, or GATT. Officially, the GATT was an agreement, not an organization of the countries participating in the agreement were officially designated as a contracting parties, not members. In practice, the GATT did maintain a permanent secretariat in Geneva, which everyone referred to as the GATT in GATT. In 1995, the World Trade Organization was established finally, creating the formal organization envisaged 50 years earlier. However, the GATT rules remain in force and the basic logic of the system remains the same. Tariff were the main point of contention among the countries. Thus, various trade rounds were conducted to reach the consensus on the tariff issues. The first 5 rounds under the GATT took the form of parallel bilateral negotiations, where each country negotiated pairwise with a number of countries at once. The 6th multilateral trade agreement was the Kennedy round, was completed in 1967. This agreement involves across the board 50% of the reductions in tariffs by the major industrial countries, except for specified industries whose tariffs were left unchanged. The so-called Tokyo round of the trade negotiations completed in 1979 reduced tariffs, employing a formula more complex than that used for a Kennedy round. Finally, in 1994, an 18th round of negotiations, that so-called Uruguay round, was completed. The Uruguay round, like previous GATT negotiations, cut tariff rates around the world. The average tariff imposed by advanced countries fell almost 40% as a result of the round. More important than this overall tariff reduction were the moves to liberalize trade in 2 important sectors, agriculture and clothing. The 9th major round of World Trade negotiations, known as the Doha round, began in 2001. Its aim was to achieve major reform of the international trading system with the fundamental objective to improve the trading prospects of developing countries through the introduction of lower trade barriers and revise the trade rules. It ended without the negotiations being completed, resulting in a spot in bilateral trade agreements. Trade policy for developing economies. Trade policy in developing countries is concerned with 2 objectives: promoting industrialization and coping with the uneven development of the domestic economy. Government policy to promote industrialization has often been justified by the Infantry Industry Agreement, which says that new industries need a temporary prior of protection against competition from establishment industries in other countries. Using the infant industry argument that justification, many less developed countries have pursued policies of import substituting industrially, which domestic industries are created under. The protection of tariff imports quota, as beginning from about 1985, many developing countries dissatisfied with the result of import substitution policies greatly reduced rate of protection manufacturing. As a result, developing country trade grew rapidly and the share of manufacturing goods in export rose. The results of this policy change in terms of economic development, however, have been at best mixed. This idea had been mainly confounded by the Asian economies, including India. Trade policy of India prior to 1991. In the post-independence period prior to 1991, India followed a protectionist approach. The principal objective of the is protectionist policy were to stabilize a balance of payments, encourage industrialization, fulfill the objective of self-reliance and self-sufficiency, help in reallocation of resources, increase employment and provide revenue for the government. The selection of instruments adopted for achieving the objective of the protectionist policy can be classified in two broad groups: tariffs and non-tariff measures. These instruments were basically used to bring about changes in price, volume, or other parameters relating to tradable commodities and services. In the pre-reform period, India's import and export policy was guided by the Import and Export Control of 1947. In 1977, two additional orders, the Import Control Order and Export Control Order, were introduced, and the subsequent annually policy of imports and exports was based on these legislations. A long-term trade policy for 3 years was announced in 1985 by the government, and some concerted steps towards liberalization were taken. So rivers were taken within the framework of economic reforms. In a pre-reform period, India's trade policy regime was complex and cumbersome. There were different categories of importers, different types of importer license, alternative ways of importing different types of license that used to be issued in the pre-reform period can be categorized as open general license, automatic license, supplementary import license, and imports through government-owned canalized agencies. The trade policy was geared towards developing a self-reliant production structure. There were high tariffs on imports. The intention of high tariffs was to promote domestic production by making imported goods more expensive than those produced at home. This is what called import substitution. Apart from import duties, there were various permissions were required for before importing something. Importing a computer, for instance, required many licenses and permissions. The central government should decide on independency. Then the 50s, it was held that the export earnings of underdeveloped countries were subject to several constraints. World is division of the world economy. Underdeveloped countries exported raw materials and primary goods, such as coffee, tea, cotton, or minerals. Developed countries exported manufactured products. World trade was an exchange of the manufacture of industrial countries with the agriculture and primary goods of agriculture and primary commodities. Then manufacturing determine the prices of their inputs. They were price makers. Agricultural commodities are produced by large numbers of small producers. This is called a monopoly position, where there is just one or few buyers alone. The buyer or buyers can then be price makers for that. This is for that primary commodity. The price of coffee could be kept low. The returns of the millions of primary commodity producers. Transnational corporations than one country, and they control much of the then come to the other side of export of pessimism was import rationing. Import rationing, since India needed to develop its own industries. It needed scarce foreign exchange to be used mainly for importing equipment and machinery for industry. In times of food scarcity, food may also to import what not to import on the basis of relative prices. Among all commodities that it was economically profitable and to import, the government would decide on the most important uses limited foreign exchange. Then come to the post 1991. Were precipitated by the external debt crisis the government faced at the time. The Indian government did not have sufficient foreign exchange to cover the external debt payments that were due. In order to avoid defaulting on its international debt obligations, the government was forced to approach the international monetary fund for a loan. As part of the reforming program, strategies, for instance, that the policies for industrial development are intimately related to policies for trade. Then likewise, export incentives were provided for foreign products, and institutional changes were made to bring transparency and facilitate transactions in both domestic and foreign markets. This included the establishment of certain institutions or advisory mandates for existing institutions that would help implement the new focus areas. Then FDI policy in India. At the time of independence, policy towards FDI was largely conditioned by two factors: the industrial policy resolution of 1948 and 1956, and the foreign exchange crisis, especially in the late 50s. However, in 1969, a more precise policy towards FDI was evolved. This consisted of setting out three groups of industries where there would be FDI without technical collaboration, only technical collaboration and no foreign participation. Second, the foreign exchange crisis participated the Foreign Exchange Regulation Act of particularly Article 29, which specified any foreign-owned firm with more than 40% of equity held abroad who had to apply the Reserve Bank of India for approval in cases relating to expansion, mergers, purchase of shares of the other firms. FERA came into force in 1974, and all applications had been dealt with by 1979. Then in 1995, India had re-entered its FDI policy. This is because of India signed the Uruguay Agreement in 1995, which made it a member of the World Trade Organization and hence an automatic signatory to the Agreement on Trade-related Investment Measures. Then come to these changes in definition was called in order to bring the reporting system of FDI data in India into alignment with best international practices. Then come to the India and the changing nature of world trade. Hello, hello, hello,
sir,
hello.
कौन sir? कुहतु sir?
हाँ ये जो 18टा यूनिट 18टा हम सारदवा बुझिला कारण एटा कवर एटा सारिबा को पुनी ये हबो ताउ टिएनाको तमे टिए पढि दो भलगिरी. There has been a change in the nature of trade. During the 18th World Trade Organization Ministerial Conference held in Geneva in 2011, some ministries said that the World Trade Organization needed to pay more attention to global value chains. A global value chain is a chain of separate but interlinked and coordinated activities, which can be undertaken within a single firm or be divided among multiple firms in different geographical locations to bring out a product or a service from conception to complete production and delivery to final consumers. Then come to the trade in services. Trade traditionally meant trade in goods. However, with the several services becoming tradable and due to increased globalization and integration of the economies, trade in services have become a common parlance among countries. Then Indian firms have established a strong presence in the world trade in services. Indian firms carry out a multitude of offshoring tasks, from simple consumer services center to accounting services under the other various business tasks called business process outsourcing. These are also called IT-enabled services, since they are depend crucially on IT and communication technology. Then come to the trade in agriculture. Another area of orientation in trade policy is that towards agriculture. agreement in this area have been stalled by the collapse of the Doha round of World Trade Organization negotiations. The USA and the European Union both provide large subsidies to their farmers. You try to understand the USA and the European Union both provide large subsidies to their farmers. These are categorized in WTO terms under different colors. Red as a trade distorting, such as an export duty or import subsidies, a green for general support to the sector. What such general support also helps the subsidy receiving farmers to export at lower prices. This brings down the price of agricultural commodities, could enable the developed countries to increase their agriculture exports. The developed countries have been pressing for an agreement to reduce even eliminate controls on agriculture imports. India has insisted on maintaining controls on agriculture imports, even exports for that matter. The argument is basically that agriculture is not the production of a commodity, but is also the means of livelihood of crores of small and medium farmers in the country, particularly where new jobs in low-skill manufacturing are not growing so fast. India wants to protect its agriculture from cheap exports promoted by subsidies from the developing economies. Then come to the recent scenario Indian trade. In 2018-19, petroleum products were the largest exported commodity in value terms, with a share of 14.1% in the country's export basket. Other major exports included PLs, precious, semi-precious stones, as also gold and other precious metal jewelry, besides drug formulations, biological. Then India's major trading partners of the United States of America, which accounted for 16% of India's exports in 2018 to 19, followed by the United Arab Emirates, China, Hong Kong. However, in 2018-19, growth of India's exports to the Netherlands was the highest, followed by China and Nepal. China continues to be the largest sources of imports of India, accounting for 13.7% of total imported value in 2018 and 19. The other important sources from which India imports are the USA, UAE, and Saudi Arabia. Trade policy of India in 2015-2020. The government of India announced foreign trade policy for the period of 2015 to 2020 on 1st April 2015. The important measures taken by the government of foreign trade policy 2015-2020 to include Make in India, Digital India program to ease the trade are, Make in India and Digital India, which has been highlighted in Indian context, and which is both are very successful program. Specific export obligation under export promotion capital goods scheme, in case capital goods are procured from indigenous manufacturers, has been reduced to 75% of the normal export obligation in order to promote a domestic capital goods manufacturing industry. Under a merchandise exports from India scheme, exports items with high domestic content and value addition have generally been provided a higher level of rewards. Then for reward schemes and duty exemption schemes, had copies of application and specified documents which are required to be submitted earlier have now been dispensed with. Landing document of export consignment as proof for notified market can now be digitally uploaded. There will be no need to submit copies of permanent records documents repeatedly with each application once the same are uploaded in the export-importer profile. For faster and paperless communication with various committees of Director General of Foreign Trade, dedicated to email address have been provided for various committee, norms committee, exam facilitation committees. The foreign trade policy in 2015-20 introduced two new schemes, namely merchandise exports from Indian scheme. For incentivize export of specific goods and with markets, service exports from India scheme from India. The scripts can be used for payment of customer duty, excise duty, and service tax. All duty credit scripts issued under both the schemes The goods imported against these scripts are fully transferable. Further, in commerce, exports of certain specified employment creating sectors made through couriers or foreign post office have been supported under MEIs. So, money merchandise export from India scheme. Different schemes have been initiated, and there is a paperless work, and also there is no any repetition of any work. Only email ID that can help the for easy documentation and to maintain the other work in trade policy. The trade policy refers to all policies related to both export and imports. India has bilateral trade agreements with the all major regional groupings, and most controversial one is RCEP. The long-term export-import policy 2015-20 aimed to at a doubling India's share in global trade by 2020 and accelerated the country's contribution to the global vibrant economy to derive maximum benefits from expanding global market opportunities. The country is on track to achieve the 1 trillion export target by 2025, with the government and industry deliberating on measures to boost exports, manufacturing, and new foreign trade policy. Then come to the foreign trade and the balance of payment. Hello. Now the time is over. Hello.
कौन सर?
Hello.
कौन सर?
Now the time is over, so that for the next class we'll discuss foreign trade and balance of payments in unit 19. Tomorrow we'll discuss in detail. Hello.
Okay sir.
ठीक है, thank you.
Thank you sir.
बुझेला 5टा बेले आसुनांती जॉइन करनांती बोले कौन कुआडे गले कौन कले हैला विल कम इन राइट टाइम हां हां हाउ ठीक अछि धन्यवाद गॉड ब्लेस यू कैरी ऑन प्लीज हाँ 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 कहीं ना से माने कवर हो परिबनी बोली भाबिली हला हाँ 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 थैंक यू हाँ हाँ थैंक यू जय जगन्नाथ थैंक यू